So I didn't realize I hit end on the broadcast. So I hope that y'all come back. I was trying to delete the other camera and apparently I shut the whole thing down. So I'm going to see. Hopefully y'all will come back because this was actually turning out to be something really awesome. So I hope that y'all come back. Y'all tell me in the comments. Oh Lord, help us. Y'all, I hit in. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, this is what happens whenever I am trying new things. So this is Monique. So I am trying to do things with the iPad. I'm trying to do things that I shouldn't be doing. Okay, I should just stop. I'm trying to get fancy and things exactly. Yeah, welcome back. Glad you're here. I was going through my grab bag and it cut off. I say it cut off like there was another. It was me. It wasn't anybody else's issue. It was me. I hit in broadcast on the wrong thing whenever I should just turn the dang thing off. But anyway, we are back. I wanted to finish this one last thing. So, oh my gosh, I put it in here. Let me tell you about my Tascam. Because this is what I recorded on that I wanted to tell you about. Oh my gosh, y'all. One day I'll get my life together. One day. No promises. Okay. So this is what I want to tell you about. This I bought. Gosh, when did I buy this? Maybe I bought it in 2019. I was thinking I got it in 2020, but I used it a lot in 2020. But I'm thinking of it very vividly. No, I had it in 2019 because I used it at a conference. I think that's what I bought it for. So this little portable recorder is amazing. It's amazing. It just takes little like AA batteries. It's not super fancy, but I can plug in my XLR microphone. Where are we going here? So now, boom, it's all tangled. I can record my podcast. So today's episode, if you listen to it, if you hear a difference, that's what it is. It's this. This is a dynamic microphone too. So I hold it. If you've ever seen me, the boom arm was messed up. I think that's what happened. But I had to hold this, y'all. I don't know if this is why Bob Barker and Drew Carey have that really skinny microphone. This thing is heavy. Heavy to hold for a long time. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like if I have to like switch hands, my butt fell asleep because I was sitting in the floor of my closet. Like it was a whole messy thing. Not unlike this live stream take 2 today. But anyway, I don't even know. I was just trying to tell you about my Tascam. And then I cut everything off and now we're back. So let me know what questions y'all have in the comments. Oh, I'm so glad you repeated your question, Payo time, because yes. Oh, okay. So you want this now. I have a video on my YouTube channel that is, let me put in the chat. It is called a Tascam BR40X. I'm just going to put Tascam. I think that's what it is. Tascam. The reason why I'm like, I don't want to put the model number because I did get it a few years ago. And ever since then, a lot of these portable recorders have come on the market. I recommend them for people that know they're going to record in person every once in a while, not all the time. You don't need like a whole setup, like people that have like podcast studios, like you don't need all that. But this is awesome if you're going to an in-person conference and you're like, man, I know this one person's going to be there and we could have a fantastic conversation. That's really what I bought it for. And that's what I've used it for. We went, the reason why I was thinking about, I got it in 2020 was I went on spring break with my husband and we did a fantastic interview on the podcast together. And we were both like, we were sitting pretty far apart and he had his microphone, I had mine. And there was like a little creek that we were by. And it was such a cool thing. So yes, I love my Tascam recorder. I used it for this week's podcast episode. So yes, so good. And I have a YouTube video on how to use it. I need to redo another one though, because I've had questions about it. Okay, let's come back to this one. I've been experimenting with vlogging and bought a stabilizer for my iPhone. I'm wondering if vlogging content. So I need like, hang on. I'll be right back. I'm not going to cut off any broadcast. I'll be right back. Because this is what I got for Christmas. This is what my husband knows. And I love that he's into tech stuff too, because my chair. Oh my gosh. I got this for Christmas. I don't know what kind you got. Here, let me put it up the right way. This works. I can't get it to work with my camera. I can get it to work with my phone. So if anybody's wondering what a stabilizer is, and this is a great one. Payo time, listen up. If you could make just really good videos on how you do things behind the scenes, I don't know if that is going to require a totally different channel and a different content, but the ones for this individual product are awful. They're so bad. And I'm like, I don't really want to get into like tech reviews of products, but the ones for this particular product are really, really bad. So I've thought about, you know what, maybe I should do one because these are really terrible. But they had a ton of views. So this is what a stabilizer is for anybody that's wondering. Like I said, I don't know what kind you have payo time. So I could hook up my phone to this. And whenever I'm walking around, I actually took a bunch of videos for New Year's, not knowing how this was going to work. And they turned out really cool. So, and then I could actually attach this at the bottom, and it could turn into a tripod, and I could use a remote to make it follow me. Y'all, I have all these fancy things, and I don't know how half of them work. This is also the other problem, is I get these cool gadgets, and I'm like, oh, that's so fun in theory. I have no idea how that's going to work. But back to your question about vlogging content. Honestly, you're not going to know what's going to work until you try it. I mean, I think that there's a time and a place for vlogging, and depending on which different, I don't know, like because there's like a subset of my audience that just wants how to. Like they would be over the moon excited if every single video I ever did was like 5 steps to do this and 4 steps to do that. Like just teach me plain black and white, step by step, what to do. There's a subset of my audience that loves that. Then, like y'all hanging out here with me today, there's another subset of my audience that loves the behind the scenes. They're like, just the vlogging style stuff. Like this isn't, I mean, I guess you could call this a vlog if that's what you want to call this. I call these my live streams, but these are my weekly streams. I do this every Tuesday, the same time. And I know like we typically have the same people show up here every single week. And for me, it's the way of getting to actually engage with people in my audience. Because if you're just creating content in a void, how do you really know what people want? Like I could see from Monique's comments, I want this now, shut the front door. She's talking about the stabilizer. I'm like, oh, well, maybe I need to show a video of how I use that and the different ways that, you could, like what it would look like if I use this video, or this stabilizer on the video versus just on my tripod versus me shakily holding the iPad like y'all saw earlier. So it just lets me know that I need to engage with my people. It's what I do, but vlogging is very different. And I find it a little bit more challenging to do vlogs simply because I'm great off the cuff. I just show up as myself. Y'all see the messy craziness that happens. I shut things down. I totally turn things off. I can't remember things. I have hairs that are everywhere. Oh, I shed so bad. I go off on tangents. This is what I do on this live stream. But for vlogs, I feel like, well, what should I share? Am I sharing too much? Am I not sharing enough? I don't have the vlogging idea like perfectly laid out for me and my channel, but I do think it's really profitable if you can make that connection to your people. So that is totally the benefit of doing vlogs, is you are brought into that person's world and you can get to know them a little bit better as a person, as a human, as a creator, instead of them just being this person, this talking head on the internet. So I hope that helps. I hope that makes sense. There's so much to talk about with the Rams free agents, draft coverage, and I would like to do a series called Rams 101. Okay, yeah, I think that this is great. Yeah, this is awesome. I think, as you look at your content, especially because you have something that is so hot, it's still hot. Like I was looking at LinkedIn earlier and they were talking about the hottest commercials of the Super Bowl, and the guy I saw on and you would know this player. Don't laugh at me because I don't know all the players. Like that happened last time. Let's not repeat that. But the guy that like had a baby, like they won the Super Bowl and his wife had a baby like that same day. I just saw that on Instagram. Like people are still talking about the things that happened in the Super Bowl. So I do think that there's going to be a time frame where you can still capitalize on the traction and the people doing all the things going into the off season, but start thinking about and making plans for next season already. Like, do you want to up the amount of content that you do when things are happening like in real time? And if you do, then you have to figure out, obviously, because you don't know, you don't know what's going to happen in this next season, but you can kind of create this buffer of, all right, well, I know last season I didn't have time for this, and this, or last time I didn't concentrate on this because I wanted to just get this workflow down, but next time I want to concentrate on that. So it's almost like you're doing a debrief off of the season and saying, what can I do better next time? What did I love about it? What did I hate about it? What do I never want to repeat again? Like these are always the questions that I ask typically around the new year, right? It's like December into January, I'm doing this evaluation of the previous year, but that's kind of the same thing for your content right now. So yeah. Yes. See, Van Jefferson. I was like, I wasn't even going to try to take a stab at it. I was very off. I have no idea what his name was. Yeah. You're not laughing. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes. Yes. You're so welcome. Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay. You have I'm not going to try to pronounce that. Is it a DG? Is it a DJI? Like, do you actually say a DG? I really like it. It's user friendly and the apps makes my video look better. Yeah. So I think that when it comes to all the tech, all of the equipment, y'all, I could literally go on Amazon right now, spend $1,000 on all of my wish list items that I've like, oh my gosh, like I want a whole different light setup. I would love to do something to my backdrop. I don't know why. Like it's okay. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's like, it's cute, I guess, whatever. But there's always going to be something above and beyond like what you could get. So if y'all are watching this and you're hearing us talk about all these different gadgets and gizmos aplenty, then don't worry about it. Like start with what you have right now. I got started with my webcam. I had my webcam up until I think it was around this time last year. It was either February or March that I finally bought this camera. And I've already been creating YouTube videos for 2.5 years before I actually invested in a vlogging webcam. I had my phone. I did a lot of my videos on my phone because I could, let me see, I have an 11. I'm like, which one is this? It was right when everything started coming out and it came with like the new camera. I can't even point today. The new camera. I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to get that because I had an iPhone 6. I tried to record some videos on there and it didn't work out really well. So I upgraded my phone and then now, I mean, it takes great videos. And then I have my iPad. I'm like, there's so many different ways that you can invest in the tools and the gadgets that you could play with. But here's the thing. This is where we're going to bring it on home. And that is, but if your content sucks, if you don't have a good message to share, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your money. If you don't have a strategy about what you're going to talk about next week, then what are we really even doing? This is the part that frustrates me beyond everything is you have a lot of people that will tell you, you have to invest all this money and you got to get top of the line this and this or that. Y'all, $1,000 microphone or, a $5,000 camera or super expensive editing software is not going to make you sound better if you have no idea what you're talking about. If you don't know what you're doing, it's not going to help. So there, I said it. I had to throw it out there for those of you wondering all the things when it comes to spending money on all the things. It just drives me crazy because I think it really comes from me being a cheap person. Even though I have like fancy gadgets, most of them were gifted to me. I'll be really honest. Most of them were gifted to me, or I bought them after several years. Several years. I think I had, like I said, I know I had my $20 microphone for the podcast for at least a year and a half. Then I got $100 gift card, got my Blue Yeti. Then, oh wait, hang on. Talked about my candle earlier. I have a little like sliding thing on my bookshelf, sliding door. And I shut it and my candle is in there. Speaking of fire hazards, y'all, this is, oh wait, hang on here. I got a great, speaking of fire, blame Melanie. If y'all see her, yeah, she's around here. She usually stops by. It's all her fault. She's the one that gave me all of these fantastic GIFs for, Payo. If you want to do the vlogs like this, I mean, go for it. It doesn't even matter. You could just have your Rita Taco Tuesday. I mean, I could just keep going with all. I think this one's actually better though. Y'all, post your questions in the chat. Let me know what other content questions you have. Today's podcast episode, I did want to talk about this. It was a little bit shorter than it typically is, and there was a reason. There was a reason why it was shorter. One, there's a few reasons why it was shorter. One, I did have to record in my closet. We had a sick kid home for 2 days last week. He was not feeling good. And I was like, you know what? I can't send him to school. And then I was like, I got to get some work done though. And my husband was working from home, doing a bunch of important meetings. And I was like, well, I can't go in the office because my husband needed to use the office. So I was like, I'm going to go record in the closet. I'm going to take it, but we're going to do a throwback, old school. That's when I recorded on the floor. I sat on the floor like I used to, old school. And I had my, hang on. I had my heavy microphone that I just told you about. I'm sitting here. I'm holding this microphone and I'm recording. I'm looking at my iPad and I'm holding it. And I'm like, this microphone's really heavy while I'm talking. And then I started thinking, now my toes are numb because I was sitting cross-legged and my butt fell asleep. And so I just kept thinking, this needs to be a short podcast episode because everything is falling apart and I can't do it. So I don't think I talked about my butt falling asleep in the episode, but that's exactly why I'm looking at it. It was 16 minutes. So that's why. There you go. I know you come here for the real behind the scenes, the real story. This is what you get. This is what you get. Yes. I mean, and I used to always talk about how much laundry was in my closet because that's what happens. We have this door that connects our closet to the laundry room. It's where all the laundry goes before it gets washed because otherwise it would just be all over the house. It would be everywhere because I have 3 kids and that's what happens. And it just typically goes in our closet floor. And I would always talk about, used to back in the day, all the laundry in my closet. And so I talked about, I was like, oh, there's not that much. And then I look and I'm like, oh wait, I'm literally leaning against a like massive pile of bed sheets and towels. And I was like, I think it smells like mildew. We got to wrap this up. We got to be done. We got to be done. Yes. Okay. So question. I work in a sales office right now full-time. I'd love to go full-time on content creation within the next 5 years. Do you have any tips for planning to ditch your day job? So this is it's not so much content creation advice as much as it is like personal journey advice from me. And that is, I never went into debt for like all the different tools and everything that I've done to build my business. It was something that I never wanted to happen. So I think that since you do currently have a job and you're not like trying to start from scratch, like you didn't just say, all right, I'm out of here. See y'all later. I'm going to go bet everything on hoping that this works in the next 2 weeks. That's fantastic. Please don't do that. Anybody's watching, please don't do that because it does take time. It takes a while. And my advice to you would be to number one, don't go into debt. Don't think you have to go spend thousands and thousands of dollars on a website and all these the fancy equipment, like any of those things in order to actually make money. But the biggest tip I would have is to diversify all of your income. And by that, I know that you have a YouTube channel. I wouldn't put all your eggs in just having a YouTube channel. I would absolutely have an email list if you haven't started that. My email list is something I fall back on every single week. If YouTube were to shut down or my Facebook group were to go away or, whatever, any number of social things that could happen with these different platforms, then I still have my email list and I could say, hey guys, like, everything went down, but here's like, I have several thousand people on my email list that I could email them and say, hey, here's another way that we can hang out, or here's how you can support me. Here's my new program or my next book or this live event that I'm trying to promote. So having an email list is super, super key. Great, great question. Let me know. Let me know if that clears that up, but that's exciting. And I think having a plan to ditch your job in 5 years is absolutely, I think it's wonderful. And I mean, I feel like you could probably do it faster than 5 years, but I think that sounds very reasonable. So for anybody that's listening, anybody that's watching, just know that it's doable. You could do it. You can make it happen. I've been creating content since 2018, but I didn't really start making money and having like actual income, like reporting things for taxes until 2019. It wasn't that much. 2020 was a really big year. And then 2021 was about the same as 2020. And so everything has still been like steadily going up and to the right because it's a long game. I know there's creators out there that have had like, oh, I started and then woof, like they had this huge success, huge skyrocket. I'm making seven figures, like all this amount of growth and revenue and money. I don't believe most of it. I really don't. I think that people pad numbers and they don't tell you that really they invested $50,000 in ads and really they made, I don't know. It just there's some things about the online space that really irk me. So to hear someone say they have a six-figure business, I want to know more of the details and what that actually like goes into that because I'm very cautious about people saying that you can just start a YouTube channel and tomorrow you're making thousands of dollars a month. That hasn't been my journey. So I'll just say that. Those are my tips and advice. That hasn't been my journey, but I do see it happening. I could definitely see it happening even for myself in the next 5 years, having really substantial growth. And, you just got to keep putting it out there and just keep showing up. That's my other advice. Just keep showing up. Okay. I recently started a podcast. Been taking all the steps you suggest that I can right now. How long does it normally take to really start getting listeners? I know it's a slow process in the beginning. Great question, Bethany. So, and I get this question a lot, and it really just depends on your topic, your audience, the time that you launch, like all the different things. So, if you're taking all the steps, I would does that mean you haven't launched yet? If you're saying you're taking the steps, I can't go to my phone and listen to your podcast right now, right? That's what I'm assuming based on your question. But how long does it normally take to start really getting listeners? This is a loaded question because I don't know to you what really getting listeners means, but I can show you this. And I've showed y'all this before. Just to give everybody, if you're wanting to start a podcast and you're wanting to know, well, and I have a YouTube video all about how many downloads is good? Like, how many is a good amount of downloads? And so for January, let me turn off this banner real fast. It's driving me nuts. For January, I am partners with Buzzsprout. I'm one of their creators, and I love that they share this information because it's so, so super helpful. So let me leave that up here. So you can go to buzzsprout.com/global_stats. Yes, I'll put it at the bottom so you can see. So if you have a podcast, you're starting a podcast and you're like, well, I wonder what information is out there. This is for January 2022. So they always post, this is across all of their podcasts that are hosted within Buzzsprout. So out of 109,000 podcasts, this is kind of the like all the data that they have collected and that they share openly with people. This is what I rely on. So when people ask me, well, what's a good number? I'm like, I don't know, go to Buzzsprout. They'll tell you. And it's really reassuring too, because you can come down here to the bottom and you can see that, and this is downloads. This isn't listeners, which I know it sounds like it's the same. It's a little bit different, but the median, so the top 50% of podcasts out of 100,000 are getting 28 downloads in a 7-day period. And this blows people's minds. and this is why I love sharing this information, because numbers are so fluffy and BS, in my opinion, like people that share their information out there. And this is actually, I would love for y'all to tell me in the comments. I put this question out on Instagram recently, but I want to know what y'all think. Do you want me to share my stats? Like my stats for my YouTube channel, my stats for my podcast? I've been really hesitant in the past to share it because I didn't think it was really fair to a beginner of like what they could expect at the beginning, because I've been doing it for so long. I didn't want it to be a discouragement. That's really been my biggest thing, is like, I don't want to discourage anybody because they see my numbers and they're like, oh my gosh, it took her that long to get there. Or, you know, what's the point even getting started if it's going to take me a year? First of all, there were lots of things that I did at the beginning that I would tell you not to do. And if you're hanging out with us on a regular basis on the podcast, on the YouTube channel, and the Facebook group, you're way ahead of the game, way ahead of the game. But this is really cool. So the top 10%. So if you're getting 300 downloads on a podcast in a week, you're in the top 10% of 100,000 podcasts. So I hope that this is encouraging. If you're wondering, well, if you launch your podcast and in the first week you get 50 downloads, I mean, you're in the top 50%. Isn't that crazy? Like you would think it would be thousands and hundreds of thousands. But the thing is that those really big shows skew all the numbers up. And in reality, if you look at all of the other podcasts that aren't as big, right? I don't consider my podcast to be super, super big. I don't have thousands of listeners and millions of downloads, but I'm still on a pretty regular basis in the top 200 of my category, like on Apple Podcast. And even on Good Pods, I'm like in the top charts because of the way that I create my content, the way that I focus on SEO, the way that I really focus on the content. That's really what it all comes down to. You know, we were talking a second ago about equipment, and all those things. But I mean, it comes down to the content and serving people. And there was a good friend of mine. I actually mentioned this in my newsletter. So if you're on my Friday newsletter, you heard me talking about this, but there was a friend of mine who wanted to go guest. He's launching a book in May. He's like, I want to go guest on these podcasts. I want to do a podcast book tour when my book goes live. And he said he went back to all these podcasts he'd either previously been on or he pitched in the past. They weren't publishing new episodes. So the long-term strategy for content is just to keep putting it out there. Like, it's going to happen. It's going to grow. Now, no one can guarantee that your show is going to launch and get millions of downloads. I also can't guarantee that won't happen either. But I think that having this like hardcore data, hardcore numbers to look at to kind of give you an expectation of, okay, this is the bar. Like, let's set the bar. Let's launch the podcast and let's shoot for this first. You know what? I want to get 29 downloads in a week's time. I just want to get 29 downloads. If that's your first goal that you're shooting for, I think that that's fantastic. I don't think that that's undershooting anything. I think that that's a very realistic goal to have. But if you want to shoot for the stars and say, no, I want to get in the top 300, if you don't currently have an audience, it's going to be difficult. It will. It will. It will be difficult to get to these kind of numbers if you're just putting it out there and you don't previously have an audience. So I hope that that helps. Y'all let me know if y'all have any other follow-up questions about that. I have launched, with social media and website. It's a heavy metal podcast, only 2 episodes out right now. Okay. So, yeah. Oh my gosh. Y'all, this right here. Tell everybody that you and Joe Rogan can both be seen on Spotify. So I have lots of thoughts about Joe Rogan and Spotify, but at the end of the day, I do have a lot of people that come to me. I was talking to another friend who helps people get on shows, and they'll come and they'll say, well, I want a Joe Rogan podcast. And I don't laugh in their face, but in the back of my head, I'm just thinking, I think that's what everybody wants. It's kind of like saying, I want to win the lottery tomorrow. He started more than, I want to say it's close to 15 years ago. He's been doing it for a long time. So it's like for you to say, I want to start and have that success tomorrow, whether it's the audience size, the monetary success, whatever, then, I think it's just not realistic. So yeah, that's really funny though. Very encouraging. Thank you. I don't feel as invisible now. Yes. No. And this is why, Bethany, and for anybody else that is in the podcasting game and you're just like, I have 5 people listening. Is this terrible? I know it's like four of them are me. If you're like, I'm listening and I'm making all my friends and family listen, like, okay, I know that at least most of those are me. What I like to do, and this is something else. Let me see if I can go up here. I can't really show you there. Let me show you. I'm going to show y'all in my potty report. This is my daily show. If you didn't know, I have a daily show. And it comes out, hang on. I have the little emoji brand thing. There we go. It comes out every Monday through Friday, and it's 5 minutes or less. I really pride myself on it being 5 minutes or less. And I love the potty report. It's so much fun. But what I will do, Bethany, is I want to go in and I like to look at the location. So if you're like, I don't really know how to read this. And I have a few YouTube videos. So after we're done here, if you want to know more about stats and understanding downloads, go check those out. But what I will do is I go to the locations tab. So if you have Buzzsprout, I don't know what hosting provider you have, but I have Buzzsprout, and I go into stats, and then I go down to locations, and then I like to see like, okay, I know that it's not just me or it's not just my friends because they're, I don't know anybody that lives here. Or I don't know anybody that's here. I don't know anybody that's there. Or I know like 1 or 2 people, but that's a lot more than what I know. So look at the locations, and then also, you can look at the actual cities. So this is another cool thing that I like to look at. First of all, I think it's just really cool. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like we're international, like worldwide, y'all. Step Brothers is one of my favorite movies of all times. And so I always joke like prestige worldwide, like, okay, like we've made it. We're international. And so it's really fun to come in here and look. And this is honestly, I have, as all content creators do, days where I'm just like, am I on the right track? Am I doing the right thing? Is this even resonating with anybody? Am I just talking out into a void? And even when you see your download numbers, it can still just feel like a number. But when you look at the locations and you see like, these are actual people, like this just makes it so much more visual. Like I can actually imagine someone in these different states, in these different cities, these different countries. Like, y'all, I don't know anybody that lives in Portugal. I don't. And if you do, awesome. I'm so happy that you're listening here. But I don't personally know someone that lives there. I don't know anybody that lives in Norway. But it's really cool to see that this is the type of impact you can have with your content when you're putting stuff out there. And you can see the same type of stuff with YouTube. So y'all have to let me know. If y'all want to know any more about stats, I could talk about stats all day. I love all the numbers. Yeah. So this is another thing. And I have people ask me questions about Anchor stats. I don't know because I've never used Anchor. I've never used another hosting platform other than Buzzsprout. So when people ask me about Libsyn or Spreaker, there was another one, Activate. Is that one of them? I don't know. There was somebody was asking me about, I was like, sorry, I really don't know because I've only used Buzzsprout since day one. But yeah, I think that their stats are freaking awesome. They're so cool. Let me show y'all one more thing before we go, because this is what I also like about Buzzsprout stats. You can see like which ones are really kind of hitting that mark of what you're trying to do in the last, like in a given amount of time, right? So if you're trying to see like, well, is something really resonating, like these, I'm like pointing with the mouse and I'm realizing it's going all over the place, but then I'm trying to point with my finger. That's not, you can't see my hand over here. But these are older, the ones in the deep purple, they're a lot older than 7 days. But then the other ones I can see, well, on average, these are getting like more than the 50% of the other 100,000 podcasts that are out there. And this is my daily podcast. Y'all, I don't do any advertising for this other than word of mouth. I don't talk about it really on social other than a mention here or there. I'll talk about it every once in a while in a YouTube video, but these are my diehards. This is what I call people that listen to the Potty Report, because that's really what it is. It's like above and beyond just listening to the Profit Podcast and grabbing, like, I imagine, and I'm obsessed with consumer behavior. So I imagine someone finds the podcast and then they dig through the episodes, the Profit Podcast, and they're like, hey, what is the answer to this question? Okay, cool. I'm going to go do it. I'm going to go implement it, and then I'll come back. And then they come back to it and they're like, oh, she did an episode about this. I'm going to go listen to that now. They listen to it and they're like, okay, cool. I'm going to go implement and I'll come back. So it's almost like a resource, like a dictionary. I'm thinking, here, let's go old school, like the Encyclopedia Britannicas that we all used to have in our house. Like that was our internet, right? That was our internet. And we would just go and be like, okay, I need to know this for a research paper. Okay, cool. I'm going to go back and do something else. And then wait, I need to go grab the M's this time and look up marshmallows. I don't know, just what it came to mind. So you go and look at it. That's how I want the Profit Podcast to be. I want it to be this resource that you can go back to time and time again, over and over. But this one, totally different podcast. The purpose of this one is to show up every day, Monday through Friday. I started this podcast as an experiment right at the height of the pandemic. And here we are 2 years. We're about to celebrate 2 years. Actually, let me see when this podcast, it started on March 28th. So March 28th will be the 2-year anniversary of the Potty Report, but I can't stop now. Like I love it so much because it's like an outlet for me to talk about some of the ranty things and some things that I don't really go into a lot of depth or detail. I talk a lot more about my business on that podcast. And it's mostly because I have the freedom to. It's because every week I need to talk about something for 5 minutes. And I'm like, okay, I want to talk about affiliate launches. I want to talk about behind the scenes of getting asked to speak at Podcast Movement University. That was so cool recently. And I shared all about it on that podcast because I don't feel like there's really the time to do it. Because on the other one, it's the resource. I want it to be actionable. I want it to be SEO driven. I want it to be all the things like marketing, like a lot. That one's like heavy hitting and it feels heavy. But this This is my playground. This is my creative place where I can just be like, you know what, guys, we're going to talk about the office redecoration. I did like a whole, whenever I was redoing the office, like I was doing this whole background and setting things. I just talked about like my home office renovation, even though I didn't knock any walls down, I didn't paint anything. I just rearranged things, but I talked about it. So that's the purpose of that piece of content. So anyway, I just went on like a whole rant about doing all these. Yes. It's okay. I'll look into it more. Yes. Let me know, Bethany, if you decide to switch over to Buzzsprout. They're fantastic. If you do, tell them I said hi over in customer support because they can help you get switched from Anchor to Buzzsprout. And you can actually, I have a 90-day free trial if you do want to check it out. You can go to crystalprofit.com/Buzzsprout because I am a proud partner, proud affiliate with them. I thought I had one of these up here, but I don't. There you go. So you can go to crystalprofit.com/Buzzsprout for anybody that wants to get their podcast up and running. Y'all, this was fun today. Like, aside from all the snafus and ridiculousness of having two streams, we made it. We made it to the end. I got to show you all my little grab bag full of tech goodies. If y'all want me to show you any more of that stuff, let me know. If y'all have any questions or comments for next week's live stream, let me know because that could be fun. We could have like this, hey, tell me beforehand what you want to hear about. But thank y'all so much for being here today. One last time. Happy Taco Tuesday from Rita as well. Y'all, I love it. I'm hungry. My stomach is growling right now. I'm actually going to go make tacos for Taco Tuesday tonight because that's what I do. That's what I do at lunchtime. But y'all have a fantastic day. And as always, remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere. Bye, y'all.